All right, listener. So you're ready to dig into this pile of articles on sustainable travel you sent over. Seems like somebody's dreaming of greener adventures.
Definitely a hot topic these days. Looks like we've got everything here from carbon footprints to eco-friendly yurts.
Yurts, huh? Now, those are some vacations I can get behind. But first things first, you've got all these notes about carbon footprints. What does that actually mean when we're talking about travel?
It's a good place to start.
Hmm.
Yeah, most people don't realize it's not just about the plane ride. It's like everything from the food you eat to the hotels you stay in. All of that contributes to your impact.
So a long-haul flight to, say, Bali is going to have a bigger footprint than a road trip to a nearby national park.
Exactly. Distance and mode of transportation are huge factors.
Yeah.
But think about this. That hotel in Bali, even if it's totally solar powered, all the materials to even build it likely traveled a long way, and that adds to its overall footprint too.
Wow, that's a really good point. I always forget about those hidden impacts.
It's easy to. That's why this whole slow travel thing caught my eye in this stack of articles you sent. Remember that one?
Yeah, that definitely sounded interesting. Fewer longer trips, less jet setting, more immersing.
And potentially a smaller footprint too, right? So instead of hopping from city to city every couple of days, you spend like a week or two really getting to know one place.
Hmm.
Reduces those travel emissions, and honestly, it can lead to a more authentic experience too.
Speaking of authentic experiences, I'm seeing an article here about homestays. Have you ever considered that?
I haven't personally tried it yet, but the concept is so cool. Staying with a local family would definitely give you such a different perspective on a destination.
And directly supporting those local communities too, which is a huge part of sustainable travel, right?
Absolutely. It's all about putting your money where your values are when you travel. It really is, though. And speaking of putting your money where your values are, you've also got this whole section here on eco-friendly accommodations.
Oh yeah. Eco lodges, green hotels. They sound amazing, like in theory, but how do you actually know if a place is truly sustainable?
That's where those certifications come in handy, right? Like seeing that LED certification or the green key.
Right, right. I've definitely seen those around, but I never really understood what they actually meant.
Well, you can kind of think of them like a stamp of approval, you
Hmm.
know? So like LE, for example, that one focuses more on things like the energy efficiency of the building itself or the water conservation. Green Key looks more at the day-to-day operations, so like waste management or staff training and all that.
So it's not just about like bamboo sheets and solar panels then.
Those are a good start, sure, but it really is about the bigger picture,
Hmm.
a more holistic approach.
Hmm.
And it's not just hotels either. You've got articles here about eco-friendly camping and glamping too.
Oh yeah, glamping. That reminds me of this one time I went glamping, and let's just say my version of rubbing it definitely still involved a flushing toilet.
I hear you. But even with that, I think it is important to remember that even when we're out in nature, we still have an impact. You know, remember that saying, leave no trace?
Absolutely. Pack it in, pack it out.
Exactly. Okay, shifting gears a bit, you flanked some articles here about sustainable air travel. Now, this is a big one, especially when we talk about those long-haul flights.
It is. It's really tough to avoid flying completely these days. So is it even possible to make it eco-friendly?
It's complicated, for sure. Some airlines are definitely making an effort, like investing in more fuel-efficient planes or even exploring those biofuels.
Yeah.
And you can also choose to fly direct whenever possible, since those takeoffs and landings use the most fuel.
No, that makes sense. What about those carbon offset programs? Are those legit? I feel like I keep hearing about them.
They can be a good option, but it's important to really do your research.
Mm.
Essentially, you're paying to support projects that help reduce emissions somewhere else.
Right.
So like reforestation or renewable energy.
So it's like you're balancing the scales a little bit.
Exactly. But not all of those programs are created equal. You want to look for the ones that are independently verified and that support projects that will make a real impact.
Good to know. So we've covered flying, but what about actually getting around once we're there? I mean, renting a car is usually my go-to, but you've got a whole section here about greener ways to get around.
Right. And honestly, sometimes it can be as simple as choosing to walk or bike more, whenever it's possible. Not only is it better for the environment, but it's a great way to really experience a place. You stumble on all those little hidden gems you'd totally miss from a car window.
So true. Plus, I always feel like I've earned that extra scoop of gelato after a long walk?
Exactly. And don't forget, a lot of cities have amazing public transportation systems too, so you can see the sights and reduce your footprint all at the same time.
And for those times when you really need a car, electric vehicles are starting to pop up more and more in those rental fleets.
For sure. It's really about having those options
Mm.
and making a conscious choice. But, sustainable travel goes beyond just trying to reduce our negative impact, too.
Oh, right. You're talking about the whole giving back aspect, like actually supporting the local communities.
Exactly. You had some really interesting articles bookmarked here about ethical souvenirs and responsible dining experiences.
Yeah. I'll admit, I've definitely been guilty of buying those like mass-produced tourist trinkets in the past. Not exactly the most ethical or sustainable choice, is it?
Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But seeking out those locally made crafts or artwork, now that's a win-win. You get a unique souvenir and your money goes right back into that local economy.
And hey, instead of those big international restaurant chains, why not try that little family-run spot down the street?
Exactly. You're getting a taste of the real local flavor and supporting those smaller businesses. It's all about being a conscious consumer, even when you're on vacation.
It really ties back to that idea of being a more responsible traveler, doesn't it? Respecting the culture, the environment, the people.
Absolutely. And, that can be as simple as learning a few basic phrases in the local language, being mindful of noise levels, or even just asking permission before you take someone's picture.
It's about being a respectful visitor, not just a tourist.
100%.
Uh-huh.
And remember, sustainability is a journey. It's not about being perfect.
I love that. So, as we wrap up our deep dive here, what's the biggest takeaway you hope our listeners are walking away with today?
Honestly, I think it's that sustainable travel doesn't have to mean sacrificing any of the fun. It's about finding ways to enhance your adventures. It's about connecting more deeply with the world around us and making sure that our adventures don't come at the expense of the planet or its people.
Mm, beautifully said. And on that note, listener, go forth and explore the world sustainably. We'll see you on our next deep dive.